The Epic of Gilgamesh is the oldest epic in the world, rising to prominence in the 1800s when former banknote engraver turned assistant in the British Museum, George Smith, would translate what is known as the Flood Tablet, or Tablet 11, from the epic. George Smith was so astounded by his discovery that he allegedly derobed, shall we say, and jumped up and down, ran up and down the halls in the British Museum because he was so excited at what he had just found. And due to the tablet sharing stark resemblances to the flood story in the biblical book of Genesis, it did cause quite a stir. However, did you know that the epic that we have come to know and love is very likely based on 5 earlier Sumerian poems? One of those 5 poems was called The Death of Gilgamesh, and today we are going to translate one of the lines from that tablet. So in Sumerian we have Gilgamesh namzu namlugal shemude tildarishe numunde. So nice and simple, we have Gilgamesh's name here, and then we have Namzu. So Zu is a personal pronoun meaning you or your, and Nam here can mean fate. So nice and simple, that would say Gilgamesh, your fate. However, on the next line, Namlugalshe, the Nam actually takes a very different meaning. So as well as Nam meaning fate, as it does here, Nam, when it's attached to nouns like this, it can also be a sort of abstract modifier. So for example, if Lugal means king, then Namlugal means kingship. Then we have She3, which you'll know from previous videos is the terminative case marker marking movement towards something. However, things often have multiple uses, and this is one of those times. So She3 can also carry the meaning for. As we can see here in this book, it says at the top, the terminative case can express a purpose or function. It can then be translated as for or as. So there is an example here which says Nam sipa she. So Nam sipa, which is another example of what I was saying earlier. Sipad is shepherd, so Nam sipad would be shepherd ship. And then we have the She3 attached to the end. So as it says down here, literally for shepherd ship. And then we have mu day, and mu is the ventive prefix, which we're going to ignore for now because it's not quite important just yet. And then day 6, which means to bring or to carry. So then we have till 3, which means life, and then dari, which means eternal. And She3 carries the same meaning as we explained earlier. So this till dari she literally means for eternal life. And then finally we have the verbal chain. So we have nu, which is the negative prefix meaning not. And then we have mu, again the ventive prefix, which we're going to ignore for now. And then we have un. So the n here specifically, which appears before the verbal base, is marking the third person animate, meaning it's a person or a god, subject marker of the verb. And the verb is day 6, which again is to bring or to carry. So if we were to translate all this literally from left to right, we would have Gilgamesh, your fate for kingship was brought. For eternal life, he did not bring. He, in this scenario, being Enlil. So you'll notice that in the verbal chain we said un, and which was referencing the third person animate subject marker of the verb to bring or to carry. So you may think, well, who's he? So he is Enlil, the god Enlil. As we can see on line number 12, it says Korgal Enlil Ayadingareneke, which literally means Enlil, the great mountain, the father of the gods. So in this section, he's talking about how he's appeared. He's basically appeared to Gilgamesh in a dream to say that your fate was to be a king and not to be eternal, not to live forever. So there you have it. We've translated an ancient Sumerian sentence from one of the 5 poems that inspired the Epic of Gilgamesh. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.